afternoon, everyone, to another exciting episode of BWHR Voices. Today, we have with us Mr. Vikas Bansal from Edelweiss. We welcome you on board, sir. It's a pleasure for us to be speaking with you on such a enthralling topic today.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine. And thank you for having me on board.
So, for those who are excited to know what is our topic of conversation today and what we'll be speaking about in depth and today discussing with deep analysis as well as anecdotes from Mr. Bansal, it is on internal workforce upskilling that's considered as need of the hour today. I will give you a small backdrop before we start on to this conversation today. In today's rapidly changing business landscape, the importance of upskilling and reskilling employees cannot be overstated. It is something that is far-fetched beyond industries and across sectors. With the emergence of new technologies and ever-evolving demands of customers, companies need to ensure today that their employees have necessary skills to stay competitive and thrive in long run. One effective way could be to achieve this is through internal workforce upskilling that we'll be discussing today. I'll just explain you what exactly this concept is. So workforce upskilling refers to the process of providing training and development opportunities to existing employees to enhance their skills and knowledge. This approach is becoming increasingly popular as it offers several benefits to both employees as well as organizations. So in today's discussions, we'll seek Mr. Vikas's valuable insights on this issue and understand the urgency behind making this as need of the hour, as our topic states. So my first question to you, what are some of the unique characteristics of Gen Z employees that need to be considered for retention and engagement, and how can companies create an environment that resonates with their values and aspirations?
Sure. I think let me first qualify the Gen Z because, I'm going to refer to, so I think Gen Z, we're referring to people who kind of got born 97. Can you please correct me? Because at times it seems I'm very old. Right? So I think it's around the same time I started working. Right? So that's the era we're talking of. But before I talk about Gen Z, I think it's important to really understand, and it's a context I'm going to provide. I think every 2 decades, plus minus 5 years, whenever a new generation comes in, it's a start of a transformation process for the industry. Or for, I would even say industry, for the nation, right, across the space. And which is what we are today going to be seeing a start of a transformation era, right, when the Gen Z is going to come into the workforce, which they've started to enter the workforce. So next 20 years, what we will see later will get defined by what the Gen Z is today, right? And that's something which we have seen. History has taught us, that corporate world has taught us that, the various evolutions which have happened. I think that's the start of a new evolution. Now, how does it be different from the rest of the transformations which have happened in the past? Certainly, it gets defined by, the people who come in. The Gen Z certainly stand out because they really bring in something very unique to themselves, which possibly was not seen as prevalent what was there in the past. Right. Each generation is unique, but they certainly bring some new dimensions to the way they think, the way they operate. Right. So some of the things which at least we see, right, across, from a Gen Z perspective. I think the first one we look at is from a being digital, right? So what we call digital native, right? So they're kind of they're born into a space where technology, digital, it's natural, right? They don't have to invest. They don't have to, unlike a lot of us who invested a lot into learning to learn digital and technology, It comes natural to them, right? So I think that's one characteristic which stands, it's a natural being. Second, I think given how they've seen the worldview is not restricted to just one dimension of work or profit or money. The worldview of, is a plus. It goes beyond work, profit, goes to an impact, a social impact, which I can create or contribute to. You see a lot more awareness into that space. And it's not awareness, they stand for those, issues, challenges. They want to work and contribute towards that, which possibly was just a awareness for a rest of the lot. So that it is something which they stand for. Right. I think that's the second space I would talk about from a awareness point of view, social awareness. The third characteristic, which possibly was not as important, a lot of us like, I mean, at the end of the day, we like to work. There's a time. Times we forget time. There's no difference between home and work. I think Gen Z is bringing a
Basically, there
real
is no clock
concept.
in, clock out.
Absolutely. But today they're talking about not just the time of in and out. They're talking about my time, right? It's my time, and I don't want you to really come into that picture, right? And that my time cannot be just defined by a certain aspect of a 9 to 6 shift or my time can be anything in between also,
Of
right? So
course.
which essentially talks about flexibility, right? So they're actually talking a lot about my time, which is available at my discretion at times, not every time, but a lot many times, which is all about flexibility, so that I can exercise my right of my time, across that. I think that's a third space which really stands out for a Gen Z. Fourth, which I would believe is prevalent, but it's taking a very different shape, is the whole focus on learning and upskilling, which we spoke. I think, Sugandh, you kind of spoke about it. Now, that's also important, but it is important from the aspect of, a very, very customized to my need, which will enhance my professional, need per se, right? It can't be just a box. Okay, everyone is going through a program, so everyone should go through it.
Of
No, I think
course.
I have, I'm more vocal about what I want to do. And a lot many times what I want to do is going to be very different. So the experiences and the learning which you will provide me, or I will get exposed to, has to be very different. And that's the articulation which they are doing across. This is my need. This is what I would like to. I think these are the four characteristics which I really see them being unique. Right. Now, as
Okay.
long as organization can respond to, these unique characteristics, right? Either through practices, policies, or in culture, those are the organizations which will be able to attract, retain, and thrive, with respect to a Gen Z cohort. So
Okay.
if you're still looking at websites, laptops for and you're not mobile first in from a technology space, and those are table stakes now, right? So if you're not mobile first, and which is essentially what a lot of us are doing, including us, where we moved all our assets to mobile first. Anything which we
Exactly.
want to learn,
Digital
anything we
first,
want to,
yes.
yeah. So you're talking about mobile digital first. You're not talking of the classical, laptops and all. Yeah, they're there but end of the day, you are making them available at the, in the
Something
palm.
that is handy, available every time.
Absolutely. Which you can access anytime, anywhere. Now that's the space our organization are responding through. I think the whole space of social, which is the most important and critical, because digital, these are assets you can replicate, you can quickly invest in. The space of social, right, and the flexibility, that's a very, 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 cultural and very important, which would distinguish you. A lot many companies you will see would have a standard, you go on a website of every company, there's a vision, mission, purpose, value
Exactly.
created. So, right, they're all there, right? However, how do you really translate your purpose into action, right? So organizations and I give it to all organizations, every organization does talk about it. But if organizations are able to translate the sense of purpose which the organization stands for into reality, right, through various actions which they want to build through their day-to-day work, then what the employee or the Gen Z sees is an experience, or which resonates with the larger purpose they want to work on. All right. So, for example, we run a very strong, we are into insurance business, right? So we kind of have a purpose of protecting dreams and aspiration and beyond.
Exactly.
right? We're the first ones to go beyond just selling insurance. Say we want to do a whole organ donation. Nowhere in India it has been done. For last 3 years, we've been working on an organ donation, campaign world, across India, Now, and this is just one small example. There are multiple things which sets you apart, not just as a CSR activity, but which is so close to your purpose which you are doing, right? The way our values we will live up, on a day-to-day basis. As long as those values and purpose we are able to call out in terms of action, and they resonate with the Gen Z, which we are talking about from a social perspective. And that's where the organizations stand out with respect to how they can retain and attract. Flexibility, right? Today we spoke about, you can access anything anywhere, right? Now, which kind of brings back to the space of, the answer is not about what 2.5 years, 3 years back when we all went into, work from home.
Exactly.
Now, right, recently I hear a lot of my colleagues and, across industries, now we're talking about moving everyone into office, right? So you keep hearing a lot of that. So
but we are still following that hybrid setup, because now that we've got used to it, we shouldn't be going back to the old regiment.
Absolutely. So I think that's the whole hybrid. While the trigger has been I think it's not the Gen Z, but even the other generations are also benefited. But I think that's a space you'll have to be, right? Where hybrid working, flexible work schedules, right? Those are some of the things which would really help, and this is what we are investing in, and we continue to invest in some of the flexibilities which allow, employees or Gen Zs in particular to stay with you, right? And for me, I think these are some of the practices I would say, if organizations can focus through, right, that would really help in terms of last development, upskilling. They're passionate about what they do, right? They're really passionate about what they do, right? They're passionate about the areas of interest they have, right? They cannot be boxed into a standard. Okay, what typically when a lot of us, we say, okay, you are a sales manager, you'll become a regional sales manager. You kind of follow a classical career routes.
The hierarchy.
Right? A lot of us, you typically go, you're a HR business partner, you'll become a HR, talent manager, you'll become a L&D manager. I think that does not work with Gen Z. That doesn't work for them. And they're as I said, they're passionate about what they do. Thus, as long as we can give flexible career. So if what we see, the average span of a role which they want to stay is not more than 1.5 years, because then they want to explore something different. So we certainly do have, Gen Z, and when we see it compared to now, I can't apply the same set of tools. What we then do is give them flexible and, or much faster role changes and upskilling. Now, somebody wants to work in one area, wants to go into another area, how quickly we can upskill them into the new areas, which...
I completely understand how they can be upskilled in the role of organization, but, you would also believe there is some role of managers and leaders also playing a very pivotal role in facilitating, these upskilling or reskilling programs. What would that be, and how can we design it for companies who are on verge of designing such programs? How can they design and leverage the power of managers and leaders in this?
Absolutely. See, this has always been, I think the role of managers and leaders has always been there for various generations, not just, that you can't take away. As I remember, as you said, when we're talking of when the Gen Z was born, I started my first job. And I think I was also very, very different from what we see the different now, right? Not that I was Gen Z, but every generation, as I said. But I do give credit to my managers and the leaders in my first organization who really helped me to be, the person who I am today, the professional I am today. If it was not that, if it was not those experience which my manager and leaders gave me, right, I possibly would have given them a tough time, which is where in terms of their learning of managing, a young, professional, it is the same challenge, right, what you see. But credit was to my leaders and managers in my career, what you see me today, right? So you can't take away the importance of managers and leaders, right? Which is also which revolves around 2 or 3 things. I think the first thing was acknowledgement. can I first acknowledge that I have a different set of people I have to manage, right? They are not going to be, the same the way I have been brought up, right? Which essentially means for managers, if companies are designing, I think the first sensitivity is about inclusion. How do I really create a very inclusive thinking in my managers to start and begin to acknowledge that, right? I think that's the first one. The second, as we start designing from a whole, is about how do I mentor, right? Because end of the day, the needs on which the Gen Z employee has are very different what you and I had or anyone the manager leader has. However, the process of mentoring and coaching is the same, right? It's just that, and today possibly we have been equipping all our managers through a mentoring coaching programs, which have become like a common, foundation for a manager effectiveness or a leadership effectiveness, so that they're able to mentor and coach, the new generation which is coming in on a go, right? Not just they have to wait for them. The third space which kind of really helps, as long as we can create, earlier it was a one-way street, right? The difference what was there, it was you keep receiving, right?
Yeah.
However, the current generation also is not very keen on saying, I'm going to keep receiving. I can contribute from day one. Let's acknowledge that, and they can, right? If organizations today are also going with the idea of reverse mentoring. Today, for the first time in my team, they come, my team comes in because you are digitally not up there, right? So you don't even know how to go on and talk about and, on the social media. And I'm being honest, I really, and I get mentored by the young Gen Z, in my team, whether it's my own team. Whether
so it's actually not just managers or leaders playing a role, it's vice versa.
It's reverse mentoring. It's reverse mentoring. So as long as we can create that space of a two-way street as a design, then I'm more receptive. So I see my Gen Z or my younger employees, they're much more receptive because you've given them a platform also that they are also contributing to which was not the case 20 years back. I can tell you for sure, right? Because today it was always okay, I've told you or I've coached you, but so there's a lot more listening.
So it was basically like a style sheet that you had to follow, that's a checklist. Absolutely. That is the way, this is the only way or tarika that, you're going to go up the ladder or go down. But then today, Gen Zs and even leaders, I would say, are more creative in their thought process because they need to create certain new situations and, not just a rule book, but actually help each other define targets in a holistic manner.
Today, projects which come in, which normally you would look at seniors, okay, you don't have experience. Today, the leaders are very open in terms of bringing the Gen Z or the younger, onto the project because they bring a very new perspective and thinking, right? They may lack experience, but they are able to challenge the status quo very easy, right? They're able to connect unrelated things very quickly, from different industry, different experiences, which we will struggle at times to kind of process and bring it together. Right. And that is where, leaders and managers, where we feel hesitant or, we kind of are risk averse and saying, should I bring in, onto a critical project and all. And we've seen a lot of benefits, kind of when we've seen, the Gen Z or younger team members are really gone into critical projects and all. I think that's another space which we are seeing for managers and leaders to really look at and leverage.
Do you also feel that, such strategies or internal workforce upskilling means they contribute to employee retention and engagement as well, considering it is a very hot topic of discussion, retention specifically.
Absolutely.
Layoffs and retention is something that has been ongoing for, past 1.5 years, I would say, but retention has a different meaning to any organization because retaining people is on the other hand, but retaining talent is, need of the hour. So do you think that such workforce upskilling, reskilling programs also contribute to retention?
So I think let's kind of take from a differentiate why this is much more important, and especially to Gen Z, right? In context of Gen Z, well, it's important for everyone. Now, Gen Z has come up in a space where money is not the only motivator.
Exactly.
It's not the only motivator. I remember for me when I was coming through, I've seen my parents toiling hard, right? For me, doing good, earning well, right? And just doing the work. We've seen that. That was important. That was a big driver, right? The performance outputs, were related to your rewards. Your rewards were related to, your performance. And hence that cycle kept moving out.
Yeah.
And then you saw, that's the thing. That's a cycle you go into. This generation is very different. What we spoke about, for them, it's a holistic space. Right? It's a holistic space.
For them, work-life balance is equally important.
Absolutely. Work-life balance. Money is important. That's table stake. I've come across a lot of young kids, and I wonder, I'm not working for money. I know it's important. That's whatever you pay me, possibly I'll spend on the, my monthly sustenance, because at the end of the day, expenses, that's good enough. So, that's as much as I can do that's there. So what makes you stay there, right? That's a bigger question, it's not money. It's just table stakes to sustenance. The experiences, right? The camaraderie which you are able to provide them, the unique experiences, what you are able to provide them into the organization, right? The kind of challenging work you are able to provide them, right? The flexibility which we are able to provide them. Today, the kind of benefits we talk to them is not about just the classical money. We talk about wellness. A lot of them want to focus about holistic wellness. They are young. A lot of them have got into financial wellness. They love investment faster. So stuff like we do investment clinics. A lot of them are going through. They're young. They kind of can't really process a lot of their own stuff. You have counselors at call, which are provided to them if they're not very comfortable with the managers. Right. So as long as you're able to provide this host of benefits or, experiences on work, flexibility, as we spoke, that is what they are, or the meaningful work. The organization I work for has a very strong sense of purpose. I see in my day-to-day work, there is a contribution to the larger society, the social awareness the company is doing or the organization is doing a lot. And I'm personally involved in doing a lot of that. I have an opportunity to work. I'm given time off to do volunteering. And I'm not, and that is a kind of flexibility so as long as we are able to offer those, believe me, a lot of them will not look at money at all, right? Vis-a-vis, somebody tells me, if I was the person talking to me, I would say I need both, money is important.
Balance of both.
I would, but for them, if you give them a choice, they will give much more value to, the other benefits and experiences than money.
But then, see, even if I want to enjoy other amenities or, enjoy my work-life balance, I need to have that driver. Money will always be that driver. But yes, considering I am from that generation or, somebody from my peers, today, work-life balance is equivalently important. From my father's time, I've been seeing for him, getting salary on 30th of every month and then running household was his key agenda.
Absolutely.
It's not today. It's not what is today.
It is not today. So, for example, we allow a lot of clubs, which are run by young guys, in the organization. Now we get them that space. You want to do clubs which are what you want to run. So people love to enjoy that. They want to go on weekends on their own, right? With a set of people around them, who are like-minded, similar interests in that space. As long as you provide them that, now for them, they don't see a need. Okay, hey, why do I want to go out and figure out when I belong? I belong to the organization is allowing me that I can belong and I can be myself, in this organization. And that gives that, edge over the basic, as we said, money, being there. If money is same across and you don't have this, people will move. Especially this generation will move.
Do you
So will
also see certain emerging trends and practices in this internal workforce upskilling? I mean, and why is it only, internal workforce upskilling? I mean, why cannot we have people from outside as well that you are hiring coming with an aspect that, this organization gives you an upskilling aspect as well? We might not always have something on our resume, but if we join this organization, probably we have these skills as well. Why not have this
absolutely,
mindset?
absolutely. I think um, so. Upskilling for within, I think, is important. What we are doing, our organization. So, we're changing the way the skilling used to happen. Number one, right? We've moved from a classical fixed schedule, trainer led, to a transition to digital led, which happened for everyone. However, now that is also shifting to anytime, anywhere, right? So it's all becoming mobile led learning, smaller modules, just learn at your own pace, customized to. Now that's transition we have all invested in, we got into that space. It's all mobile learning. We don't even have a web based learning tool, which are all mobile based learning tools now. So if you are traveling, you are on the way, especially Bombay or across, want to learn on the mobile, just go through it. You've tied up with a lot of them want to do beyond classical, as we said, upskilling, not just for the job, even some areas which I'm interested, right, but I may not have access to, right, today. So we've tied up with Udemy, for example, right, a lot of other, and we're providing that to all our employees, where we're saying, fine, what we will do functional and leadership. Some of you have interest maybe in some other area. You want to learn about quantum, physics or anything. The courses are all there for you. We're giving it for your interest. I think that's how we kind of changed the nature of the way learning was being done. You were pushing down learning. Today, a lot of employees, we are seeing they're pulling the way their interest is. I think that's a shift which you've done through. As a proposition, today, for us, if you ask me what is my proposition is I will help you as an employee, discover and live your edge, right? And for me, edge is every employee has its own edge, right? And we'll help you discover and live your edge, right? And what is it essentially? It's all about learning. I think I don't even remember who said that, but let's call it anonymous, or, I will stop growing, the day I stop learning, right? That's the day I will stop growing if I stop learning, right? And possibly that's the proposition we are offering, and I see a lot of companies wanting in their value proposition, right? Our value proposition is nurturing, impacting life, nurturing talent, impacting lives, right? Now, it essentially talks about nurture, which is development. Today, we boast of 9 to 10 days of learning per year per employee, on the finger. That's like not a small number, right? That's the kind of investment which we do. We're talking of skills which go beyond your, classical role and resume. So you can talk about those, right? The impacting life is the whole purpose. How do you impact lives of people on the larger base, right? Not just within the organization, but beyond the organization. That's our proposition. That's that's my own EVP, or employee value proposition. Now, yes, we are talking about it so that external employees for us today, what's the shift we are seeing? I mean, we are not like in 3 to 4 years, we are seeing, a massive shift in the way we are attracting people, right? The top 5 in the last 1 year, we have seen, almost 50%, for 50%. Yeah, I just saw that data of the year closing. 50% of our new hires today in the last 1 year in enterprise functions or corporate function come from the top 5 companies. Right? Okay. Now, they come from top 5 companies. Now, does it pay? It pays. And, you invest into the right stuff, it pays for you in the long term. Ability to, for us, we are not in the top 5, we're not in the top 10, by the way, in the insurance sector, right? From a scale point of view. But today we are able to attract through because of our proposition of, the development or learning or upskilling, which we are able to offer, right? And I can talk of various other examples in the industry. There are industry leaders in the organizations, worked one of them previously, my previous assignment, right? known for creating leaders. People want to join, just be part of their organization, right? Just to become an industry leader or a leader in, so organizations stand for that and they benefit and attract, which is what we are seeing. It pays in the long run in terms of attraction from an upskilling perspective. If you're able to create value, you will see much better value for the employee. The organization will also benefit.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure speaking with you. The anecdotes and the analysis that you've shared is something that has, broadened the horizon and explained this concept in detail as to why it is the need of the hour and how companies like you are actually putting foot forward, strategizing it, not just talking about it, but actually strategizing on the implementation level as well. So thank you so much. People who have questions on this regard and on this very interesting topic that we've discussed, you're open to, send it to sir. You can tag him on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. He'll be happy to respond to all your queries with regards to this subject and any other subject, pertaining to the HR fraternity, any other segment. But for now, thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sagan.